Welcome to Vegan Business Talk with Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, journalist, media trainer and editor of veganbusinessmedia.com, the multimedia blog providing success tips for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. In this episode, I interview TK Pillan, one of the co-founders of Veggie, a healthy fast food chain in the US. Now, this is one of the interviews that I did for my book, Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Some businesses start small and over time they grow, and sometimes they grow quite slowly and organically. What's interesting about Veggie is that right from the outset, the owner's vision and plans were to create a chain of restaurants, never just one. So for those of you who are looking to go big, you know right from the beginning that you want to create something quite big, I think you'll find this interview with TK quite enlightening. TK talks about the strategies that he and his co-founders used to establish a chain of 28 restaurants, the importance of location when you're opening local businesses, and how finding the right team was key to Veggie success. So here's the interview with TK Pillan of Veggie. What were and are your drivers? Like, what's your why? Why did you start Veggie? Why do you do what you do?
We started it because we were passionate about three things. The need for delicious, convenient, healthy food. 2, the opportunity to show people how delicious plant-based foods could be, and 3, because we became big believers in the benefits of plant-based food.
Right. Well, so that's the passion that was behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's fantastic. In terms of the raw materials, so the food and the ingredients, being vegan, some business owners say that often that they can be more expensive. I don't know if you find that now because you've grown now, but I just wondered if that was or is it a challenge for you now to stay competitive and attract clients?
They're still specialty products, and so to get higher quality specialty products that are 100% plant-based with, and then also meet other criteria in terms of no high fructose corn syrup, no trans fat, it definitely costs more. And so luckily there's a growing demand for products like this. And one, consumers, based on their awareness, are willing to pay a little bit more for these products. And then hopefully, 2, with the growing demand for it, the supply will increase and the prices or the cost will go down over time.
Do you sort of let customers know that so that they, when people have a reason or they know why they're paying a little bit more, or do you find that your clients are already those people that are already aware of that and are willing to pay that premium?
It's more the latter. I mean, we do our best to for the people who come in to make sure they appreciate the value they're getting. But it's more people just know it. People who are coming in are already seeking out higher quality, better for you items.
Right, gotcha, got it. How much? Because I know you're the founder of Veggie, and it's been going for a while now. So I'm just curious. I imagine nowadays you probably spend a fair amount of time working on the business, as in growing it, rather than directly in it. What about when you were starting out? At what point did it get to that where you were able to step back a bit and do that big picture strategizing stuff?
Sure. And actually, before I move on, I wanted to just see if you could edit a little bit on my first answer about why we started Veggie.
Okay. Sure.
Where I said plant-based, we're actually trying to, it's just a minor detail, but in our messaging, we're trying to use the word veggie instead of plant.
Veggie.
So veggie-based food instead of plant-based.
Great. Cool. Okay, got that. No worries.
So I think I said plant-based twice. If you could put veggie in there, that'd be great.
I will, for sure. What I'll do is I'm going to email you your quotes in context before the book's published anyway, so you can make sure you're 100% happy. So that's all good.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, it was just that question about at what point did you get, when you first start a business, often, you're doing as much as you can, you're very much working in it. At what stage did you get to the point where you could step back and do more of the big picture stuff and working on the business?
Sure. I think it was an evolution. And when we started the first location, it was all about how do we make sure we're delivering exactly what we want to deliver from a restaurant experience standpoint, and then doing everything possible we could do to get people in the door to try the food. So, and then I think that basically was the plan for the first 5 or 6. I'd say we took it to 7 locations where we were continuing to actually execute on the marketing, and like we were hands-on in the marketing and every part of the business. And but once we got to about 7 locations, we knew it was time to try and create more of a scalable organization and restaurant growth plan. And so that's when we looked to bring on some senior people who had been involved with larger scale restaurant chains, and that's what we did. And so then we became much less hands-on and much more big picture planning and strategic.
I'm amazed that you managed to get to 7 locations before doing that. That's pretty impressive.
And I would say it was an evolution. We had some good people on board who helped us run the restaurant side of the business from the very beginning. And that was very helpful. So we did have 2 very experienced restaurant people, we'll call them partners, restaurant partners, who helped us get the first one up and running and get us up to 7. And then that's when we looked for people who had actually grown national restaurant chains who could help us figure out how to go from being a regional chain to being a national chain.
When you first started out, did you plan for it to grow like it did? Like, some people just go, I just want to open a cafe, I just want to open a restaurant. But did you already have those big picture plans that you wanted to open chains right from the start? Or did you just kind of figure that out as you went along?
It was the former. This was our vision. We, not having been in the restaurant business before, we weren't here just to start a cafe and be in the restaurant business. We were doing it because we thought there was an opportunity to really make a big difference in the country and the world. And the way to do that is by creating a chain, not just 1 or 2.
Fantastic. What were some of your key challenges when you were first starting up? We had to learn the details of the restaurant business, but luckily we brought on 2 people, one of our co-founders early on, and then a director of operations after that helped fill in the restaurant detailed knowledge. And then the biggest challenge was getting people into the restaurant and getting them to give veggie-based food a try. And once they tried it, it wasn't, that we were pretty confident once they tried it, we could get them to come back, and that worked out. But the biggest challenge early on was just coming up with a plan to get people in the door. And how did you go about doing that at the beginning?
We decided that it was all about getting people to try the food and helping people spread the word, because this was such a different type of food or different type of restaurant that the mainstream health conscious people were looking to attract would be a little, or just people who weren't looking for vegetarian food wouldn't come in based on normal advertising. So we really had to go with a food and mouth approach, where we did a lot of sampling events and allowed some of our existing brand advocates to bring the food back to their offices so that they could help spread the word.
Okay, I got
So
it.
yeah, it was all about grassroots word of mouth.
Smart, for sure. What about now? Now that you've grown, exponentially, what are your key challenges nowadays as a successful national business?
Yeah, that becomes a little bit more of what all other restaurant chains have to figure out is how do you make sure you can consistently deliver on a national level or multi-regional level, and so how do you make sure you can hire and train people properly in different regions, and then how do you make sure as you go to different regions you continue to have a feel for what the right locations are, because being somewhat of a specialized, having a specialized or a less mainstream target set, we got to continue to be selective about our locations. All restaurants need to be, but you got to really understand who your guests are, where they congregate, and what will make a successful location on a consistent basis.
Right, that makes perfect sense, absolutely. In terms of your service providers, so, getting your raw materials, how much of a challenge, if any, I don't know if you do, maybe not so much, how much of a challenge do you experience in finding service providers that have got similar ethics to you?
I think we timed, the creation of a veggie grill and the success of a veggie grill happened at the right time. So the reason I say that is as we were starting up, a lot of good suppliers were starting to emerge that had the same focus on veggie-based products and making them delicious. And so, I think the timing was just right. If it was earlier, the products and supply chain to support what we were trying to achieve wouldn't have been there.
Right, got it. Okay. Cool. You mentioned that you train staff. How do you go about? Because I know particularly in the food industry, it can be quite a high turnover of staff. How do you go about finding and keeping experienced and motivated staff, particularly on a national level?
Yeah, well, I think we do have an advantage because of what we do. A lot of people are inherently want to be involved with what we do because they do feel that we're making a difference. And so a lot of people who are attracted to working at Veggie Grill are attracted to what we stand for. So that helps us both attract and retain good people. And then beyond that, it's about having good, it's kind of the same that all kind of retail and restaurant chains have to do, which is take care of their people and treat them fairly and compensate them fairly and give them growth opportunities. But I think first and foremost, our differentiation is we have something people can really feel good about.
Right, for sure. Now, Veggie Grill has been through and survived the global financial crisis, and I know that hit America, very, very badly. And a lot of other vegan businesses also survived, which is really cool. Why do you think that is, and what specifically did you do from a business perspective to get through that major economic downturn?
Well, I think it comes back to having something that's very unique and specialized and meets a compelling product that met an unmet need. So we weren't a commodity. We were something that was special, and so we were less affected than other businesses that were more just a commodity, and people were willing to jump to the lowest provider.
Right, that's interesting. That's good. It's good to hear that. And in terms of competition, so I was in LA for the first time 2 years ago, and I was blown away by the amount of amazing vegan food available. You're way ahead of us here in Sydney. So how do you go about standing apart from other vegan restaurants?
Well, I would agree with you. LA, from what I've seen, especially across the country, has what I would arguably and maybe biasedly say has the best vegan scene in the country, or plant veggie. Okay, again, let me say veggie. We're trying to say veggie with everything. So it has the best veggie scene in the country. And but we're still different. I mean, our menu is different than, like, we're fast casual, more limited menu. I mean, we do have a pretty broad menu, but they're sit down, kind of full service restaurants, and there's even fine dining restaurants. And then so in terms of what we do, it's still, and we don't really consider the other veggie restaurants our competition. We like to cheer for everybody. It's more about getting people, the general health conscious people within our trade areas. When I say trade areas, that's our, usually within a 3-mile radius of any of our restaurants, getting them to really try veggie food and see how great it is. So I guess for somebody, for tourists like you, yes, there's a lot of choices, but within a 3-mile radius of any of our restaurants, it's still, we're not really competing with the other veggie restaurants. We're competing with more of the mainstream restaurants.
Great. No, that's good to hear. I wouldn't say you had a limited menu at all. It took me ages to decide what I wanted because there was just so many wonderful things to have.
Sure, yeah. I think you're right. I think that is something we've evolved on. When we first started, our menu was not quite as extensive as it is now. Now there's quite a few.
Oh.
Now there's, I think, something for everybody.
Absolutely. My jaw dropped. I was with my friend, I don't know if you know her, Karen Dawn. She's quite a well-known animal advocate, and she took me there and we were and my jaw literally dropped. I'm like, what, everything's vegan? I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to have? So, but, kudos to you for doing that. That's brilliant. And I guess touching on that, we're talking about competition, and a lot of the marketing gurus nowadays are actually saying that businesses should actually stop even thinking about having competitors and instead embrace them as collaborators with whom to maybe do joint ventures. Is that something that resonates with you?
Well, our collaborators are our suppliers. And so anybody focused on the veggie space, from a food product standpoint, is a potential collaborator. I think, we support and recommend other veggie-based restaurants around town, because they offer slightly different things than we do. So, I think, again, because we all stand for similar things, it's easy to do that. But there is, I think you can't, there's certainly a line there, right? If we're across the street from another veggie restaurant, we're not going to collaborate with them because, unless they're a totally different experience. If they're fine dining, sit down, then it would be different. But if another fast casual veggie-based restaurant opened across the street, then it would be competition. But at the same time, that would show how far the veggie market has come.
True. Yes, absolutely. I like that. So just moving on to mindset, a lot of business, and you've obviously been in business, for quite some time now. Many business owners say that running and owning a business is the fastest and effective form of personal development because it forces you to grow as a person. I'm curious what your thoughts on that are, and what qualities that do you believe are essential to staying the course and running a successful vegan or veggie business?
You certainly. When you are responsible for starting and running a business from the ground up, you need to tap into a lot of different skill sets. And so it's not for everybody. It's for people who are, one, passionate, and two, committed, three, I think, confident in their own skills and abilities, 4, willing to figure things out if they don't know, 5, able to bring on the resources that they need to bring on to help them figure things out. And it's constantly changing because as your business goes through different stages, you have to start developing different skill sets. So it's almost, when you're in those early stages, you're the, to use a sports analogy, you're the all-star player, jumping around, making the shots. And as you grow to a different stage, you got to become more of a coach and then even more of a manager and owner. So there's certainly a lot of different stages you have to be ready for and be able to go through.
And I can imagine as well running your own business. I know for a fact it can be quite stressful at times. Everything. Sometimes there's you're putting out fires here and there. Not literally, hopefully, but you know what I mean. There's lots going on. I'm curious, what sort of techniques or strategies or things do you use to ensure that you've got a strong sort of mental and emotional well-being as a business owner? So whether that's coaching, self-help courses, meditation, reading books.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own thing, but I certainly make sure I take care of myself personally from a exercise and meditation standpoint. I try to do some form of exercise and meditation every day because the stress of business will always be there. So it's a matter of how that stress affects you and how you're able to manage it. And so you've got to take care of yourself first and not let to the point, so that the stress doesn't get the better of you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my philosophy.
For sure. How important do you think it is for business owners to invest in sort of some kind of mindset or personal development training?
Well, I personally always enjoy developing myself, and I do read a lot of books, and that's been beneficial to me because when I read different books and kind of gives me different frameworks to continue to apply to daily situations. So I think, I don't know if I wouldn't say it's just for running your own business. I think for everybody, the more you can learn and adapt, the better.
It's true. It's very true. What have been the key lessons, in summary, that you've learned through running Veggie Grill?
Key lessons.
So they could be personal, maybe things you've learned about yourself, or professional, or a bit of both.
So let's see. I'm trying to see if I can bubble it up to one or two key points. I think you've got to surround yourself with people who have the same purpose and values and complementary skill sets. That I think has been the biggest key to our success at Veggie Grill, and to do what we've done is we're able to bring on the right people at the right time with the right skill sets, but also a shared purpose and a common set of values.
Nice. I like that. Well, that actually leads nicely on to the next question, is around what kind of expert help have you used? And it sounds like you've used quite a bit over the years. You mentioned you had consultants that were already in the restaurant business. What about things like business coaching, marketing, publicity? Have you sort of hired any experts in that area? And if so, how was that for you?
Sure. So those early people, they were actually restaurant partners. They came in and they became part of Veggie Grill, so they weren't consultants.
Oh, okay, good.
And I called them partners because they really helped us from the ground up. One of them was a co-founder, our number 3. Kevin and I started the business. We brought on Ray early on. He was our 3rd co-founder, and then we brought on a 4th person who became our director of operations, John. And so between Ray and John, they brought a lot of restaurant experience that allowed Kevin and I to focus on the consumer experience and the marketing and the business side of the equation.
Okay, gotcha.
So just to clarify, but now, we basically PR firm, publicity. We didn't bring on any business coaches. We did bring on a board of advisors, which was very helpful. I think maybe that's what the best coaching we got is we put together a board of advisors with initially 3 experienced restaurateurs who had a lot of knowledge in the business, and we had known from different areas, we had gotten to know different ways, and we approached each of them individually and asked them to be on our board of advisors, who we then treated as kind of as a formal board, even though they did not have only, we didn't have to report to them, but we did create formal board of advisors meetings where we would prepare a status on the business and provide a detailed everything that was going on, and they gave us great advice based on their years of experience. So I think that was the best form of coaching that we had.
Oh, it sounds like it. So what I'm hearing, it's very much, Veggie has very much been about a kind of a joint ventures, like from the beginning that, you've had the co-founders and then brought more people on. I think that's interesting how you've made that work, because I know sometimes with partnerships or, several people doing something, things can go wrong. So I'm curious, what's your secret of maintaining that, rapport and with so many people involved?
I guess, again, you got to make sure you define your purpose and values up front, and that way you can share them with anybody you're considering bringing on board. And one, share and make sure they understand and are on board with it, and two, so you can also evaluate whether they do fit in with what you're about. So I think that's that's the most important thing, to have a very clearly defined purpose and set of values that then you make sure anybody you consider working with or bringing on board knows that they're accountable to that.
Got it. And are you a big fan of contracts and having everything in writing?
I think it all depends what it is. So certainly the more you can define up front, the better.
Right. Got it. What are some of the, for those who aspire to running a vegan or a veggie-based business, what in your opinion are the key things they need to take into account before making that jump from employed to self-employed and running their own business?
I think one of the things you've got to do a lot of market testing, I think. You got to make sure your product does have a broad enough appeal to make your business work. So I think, because at the end of the day, it is a business, and you've got to be able to have an attractive product that meets a need to a large enough set of people.
Right.
So I know there's probably some veggie-based companies that maybe 80 to 90% of their customers are veggie, and they probably have a niche enough product that meets a unique need that they can get, they can serve all of the veggie-based people out there. But, the veggie group itself is very small compared to the rest of the country. And so depending on what you're trying to sell and how, like, for example, for our restaurant, the number of pure veggie eaters within any of our trade areas would not be big enough to support our business, right? So if you've got a mail order business that can serve the whole country, then maybe the pure veg market is big enough for you. But if you're like us, where you're doing a retail business, it's based on your location, you've got to make sure you test your product and that it's going to have appeal to those that aren't just purely, are kind of, I guess, the non-veggie focused people out there. So,
got it. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really, really good advice. Thank you for that. And I guess that in terms of funding one's business as well, what thoughts do you have on that? I don't know if you can share how you went about in the beginning with Veggie Grill, just kind of getting that off the ground.
With any startup business, unless you've got, unless you have a track record of success in that area, you're most likely going to have to fund it yourself or with friends and family who believe in you. So we started with ourselves. Kevin and I funded Veggie Grill when we first started, and once we had the first one up and running and it was successful, then we brought on some friends and family investors, or more, I guess, they're all friends and family. So brought on friends as investors because they believed in us and could see how that we had something that worked. So, for any startup, you've got to you usually have to bootstrap early on, and then once and figure out how do you get to the point that you've got a proven product or service. How do you get to that point with as little capital as possible? And then once you do that and you have something that's proven, then you can raise money from outside sources.
Got it. That's really good advice. Thank you. Just in terms of the word vegan in your marketing materials, because I know you're now using Veggie. So I'm just curious, there's two schools of thought around that, in that, the word vegan itself is limiting, so it scares some people away, or it's clever niche marketing. So I'm curious, now that you're particularly using the word Veggie, what the thoughts are behind that.
Yeah, I think it all depends on who your primary market is, or so if you feel that if you've got a vegan niche product that's geared towards vegans, then you should use the word vegan and market that. But if you're trying to create a mainstream product that appeals to both vegans and non-vegans, then you've got to be more judicious, because when you put vegan, I think it may be changing now, but if you put the word vegan on there, in a way you're saying this is for vegans.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Interesting one. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I've had so many different reactions to that question, so it's really good to hear those different viewpoints. Tika, do you use media as part of your PR strategy? I mean, I know you've obviously been featured in the media. Is it something that you've gone after yourself and chased after, or have the media kind of come to you as you've naturally grown and become successful?
Well, early on we used a PR firm. So we had such a unique story that PR made sense for us, and they were able to get us some decent media exposure because of the fact that we were creating such delicious food without the use of any animal products, and that was a pretty unique and still is. So so that worked for us, and so that is an opportunity for veggie focused businesses, is because they are unique and part of a growing movement and have a lot of benefits to people on the planet, that the media is people like the story and want to profile it.
For sure. And do you still either hire a PR firm, or do you still proactively seek out media, or do you just kind of have the media coming to you now?
Yeah, we still work with a PR firm.
Oh, you do? Okay, right. Cool. What other current marketing strategies do you use? I know you said in the beginning it was very much about sampling and tasting the food. Is that still the case, or what are your other marketing strategies that are? Yeah,
that's still primarily the case. We do try and do a lot of social media, because that is another word of mouth platform. So we try to make sure we're very active on Facebook and Twitter.
And you find those successful, Facebook and Twitter, you find those the most successful social media?
Yeah, I guess Instagram's growing a lot now. So that's another one. But there really are word of mouth amplifiers, and the only way to create good word of mouth is to make sure you continue to provide a compelling product or a compelling experience. And so the number one form of marketing is to make sure we're delivering to everybody who comes in the restaurant, so that they become word of mouth advocates. And then Twitter and Facebook are just ways to amplify word of mouth. But if it's not positive to start with, it's not going to be helpful.
That's a really good point. Just on Facebook, you know how the Facebook has changed its algorithm, so only a very small percentage of fans see your posts. I mean, have you found that that's limited your effectiveness or the way you use Facebook, like unless you pay to boost a post?
Yeah, I can't tell you specifically, because I know our VP of marketing. We work with Facebook. We've changed our strategy, I think, based on what Facebook has done. We do sometimes pay for boosts, and we get good results, but I can't
okay, cool.
I can't speak to the details.
That's fine. Final two questions. I don't know if you know the answers to these, but how do you, in terms of like sending a newsletter out and actually touching base with your customers via email, do you use a particular, or what particular customer relationship management system do you use? Like whether it's Infusionsoft or MailChimp, etc.
Yeah, we've gone through a few different versions, and so I think it's probably better off that I don't share that because it may not, it may continue to change.
Okay, cool.
And I would just say there's plenty out there, so I think it's just about going out there and doing your due diligence and figuring out which ones meet your needs.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just figuring out which ones are kind of coming up quite a lot and are popular. Yeah, for sure. And just then, the final question: what other technology tools or apps do you find most useful or essential in the course of running the business?
Well, we just created our own app.
Oh, cool.
Where you can actually order. You can do your own online ordering, get loyalty points, and so that's been great for us because one, it makes our guests' life easier in terms of they've got their favorites already set up in their app, and so they can just get their order in quickly without making a phone call, and then secondly, they can get loyalty points, and so the world of mobile media continues to grow, and apps I think have been our best way of capitalizing on that.
So that was TK Pillan, one of the founders of Veggie Grill. And you can find out more about Veggie Grill, including a list of their locations, at veggiegrill.com. And as usual, that link can be found on the show notes at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts. And now for a roundup of vegan business news. What's believed to be the first avocado ice cream is launched in 9 states across the Midwest in the US, reports Veg News magazine. The ice cream is made from cold-pressed avocados. Now, I find that a little bit weird. I mean, I quite like avocados, but I only generally have them with a salad, and I like to have salt and pepper on them. I don't like to eat them just naked, or eat the avocado naked, not me being naked while I'm eating them. I'm sure you get what I mean. But I do know that avocados are used quite a lot in desserts and that they can make things quite creamy. So this is quite an interesting innovation. And Cado Desserts is the name of the brand if you want to check that out. Cado is spelt Cado. Now, vegan cheeses have come on leaps and bounds since I went vegan 20 years ago. I remember going to Sainsbury's, because I'm from the UK originally, and I'd go and do my weekly shop. And I remember buying various brands of vegan cheese and hoping that they would be really tasty. And 9 times out of 10, they weren't. They were horrible. They tasted like rubber. Not anymore, I'm pleased to report. Now we've got vegan cheese shops popping up. No, so not just vegan cheeses, but we've actually got dedicated vegan cheese shops. Los Angeles has Fromage, and just this month, Riverdale opened in Brooklyn in New York. It sells its own creations, as well as a range of nut-based cheeses, condiments, bread, and sandwiches. So I'll certainly be checking that out next time I'm in New York. That's Riverdale. The UK's Telegraph newspaper ran a report on the growing trend for breweries catering for what it calls clean living punters. And included in that is vegans. Now, the piece uses the hook of the announcement by Guinness last year that they were going vegan by eliminating the use of isinglass, which is fish bladders, in its processing. You may have seen that in the headlines last year because it got massive press. Now, the Telegraph article showcases breweries that have been vegan from the get-go. And just as a bit of a PR tip for you, this is a really great way to get media coverage for your brand by tying it into a story that's already been in the media. So Guinness made the announcement. They got lots of press because they decided to go vegan. But you could come in with your brand and say, look, that's great, but hey, we've been vegan all along and this is why. So that's a really great way of getting media coverage. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode. Bye for now.